Good morning, and thank you for joining us on this first sunny day of May. I'm Jim Harvin, your lay leader for today, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Lower Bucks. We know you come here for different reasons: to find community, to seek your spiritual and personal truths, to question, to nurture your heart and soul, to be nurtured, to explore new ideas, to find comfort, and perhaps to find the answers to some of your bigger questions. We welcome you to our Zoom cyberspace. We know you come from different places, different religions, different beliefs, and with different backgrounds. Here at UUFLB, we hope you will find comfort, connection, challenge, inspiration, and love. We're so glad you joined us this morning and hope you will stay for a few minutes after service for fellowship and conversation. Our monthly Touchstone theme for this month is courage. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Courage is the power of the mind to overcome fear." Courage is essential to wield power nonviolently in opposition to all that diminishes or negates life. And courage makes repair of the world possible. Courage is doing the right thing, even in the face of those who tell us we are crazy. It is taking a stand and living with it. Courage is also about growth, about a willingness to change one's mind if and when that is the right thing to do. A brave person may fight when called upon, but a courageous person may choose not to fight, even if it means certain death. A spiritual value, courage is something to hope for and pray for, as it is necessary for a meaningful life. And today, we welcome back Mark Bernstein as our speaker. Mark is a member of the UU Church of Delaware County in media and has worked for the UUA in various capacities since 2006. He is delighted to also consider himself a member of our spiritual community, and we thank you for that. Mark lives in Springfield, Delaware County, and hopes that 2022 brings peace and sanity to the world. His sermon for today is On Moral Courage. E. Cummings wrote, "Courage is not living without fear. Courage is being scared to death and doing the right thing anyways." As we continue to negotiate these troubling and uncertain times, how do we exercise courage in ourselves and celebrate courage in others? And now, let us enter into worship together. And as always, we have Avi Wisnia, and let's listen to his prelude selection for this morning.
Good morning, everyone. We start today with a pep talk in the form of a song by the great singer and songwriter Sarah Bareilles, who knows that deep down inside each of us, we all have the potential to be brave. You can be amazing, you can turn a phrase into a weapon or a drug. You can be the outcast or be the backlash of somebody's lack of love. Or you can start speaking up. Nothing's gonna hurt you the way that words do when they settle neath your skin. Kept on the inside with no sunlight, sometimes a shadow wins. But I wonder what would happen if you say what you wanna say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave with what you wanna say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave. I wanna see you. I wanna see you. I wanna see you. I wanna see you be brave. Everybody's been there, everybody's been stared down by the enemy, falling for the fear and then some disappearing, bowed down to the mighty. Don't run, just stop holding your tongue. Maybe there's a way brave is when you say what you wanna say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave with what you wanna say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave. Say what you wanna say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave with what you wanna say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave. I wanna see you. I wanna see you. I wanna see you. I wanna see you be brave. Just wanna see you. I wanna see you. Just wanna see you. I wanna see you be brave.
Thanks, Avi. Maybe we'll take those words to heart. And now let us light the chalice, and if you will, please speak these words with me. May this flame, a symbol of transformation, fire our curiosity, strengthen our wills, and sustain our courage as we seek what is good within and around us. Our opening words are from the Reverend Elizabeth Strong. She writes, "Today we celebrate a dream awakening. Today we worship with renewed hope in our hearts. Today we act on an audacity of hope and dreams for the future. Today we begin the hard work for justice, equity, and compassion in all human relations. For today is a day like no other, and it is ours to shape with vision and action. Let us worship together and celebrate a dream awakening." And now Beck Stow will provide us with the message for all ages for this week.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Beck Stow, and our message for all ages this morning is I Am Courage, a Book of Resilience by Susan Verde, with art by Peter H. Reynolds. When there are challenges in front of me, when I feel unstable, like I might fall, and I think about turning back or giving up, when my mind tells me I can't, I look inside myself and find the strength that lives deep down. And I tell my mind, yes, I can. I have faith in what's possible. I accept the challenge and keep on going. I move ahead one breath at a time. I act with bravery. I am courage. I can trust what my gut is telling me. I believe in myself. I can feel scared, but still carry on. I persevere. I can tumble and still get up again. I am resilient. I can lean on those around me. I am not afraid to ask for support. I can encourage another when there is doubt. I am uplifting. I can know there is no shame in sharing. I tell my story. I can step in when others are struggling. I know how to help. I can be the one to clear the way for someone else. I am an example. When I feel uncertain and start to lose my balance, I find my center and gather my strength. I know what I am. I am courage. And I can keep going. We can all keep going. We are strong. We are capable. We are important. We are courage. And we are triumphant.
Thanks, Bex. And let us invite Avi again for the musical interlude.
This next song by Julie Clark became something of an anthem around the years 2009 and 2010 during the fight for marriage equality in this country. And the song tells us to follow the courage of our convictions, to fight for what is right, to stand up for what you believe in, and that the ongoing struggle to make sure that everybody is equal and lives free is an ongoing struggle. This is Julie Clark's Courage of Our Convictions. Oh, my dear brothers and sisters too, we're gonna make a change long overdue. We're gonna fight for freedom, we're gonna fight for love. We're gonna fight 'cause nothing less than equals good enough. It's gonna take our time, it's gonna take commitment, it's gonna take the courage of our convictions. It's gonna take our time, it's gonna take commitment, it's gonna take the courage of our convictions. We're gonna need our families, we're gonna need our friends, we're gonna need a much higher power that transcends. Before it's over, before it's done, before our equal rights have all been won, it's gonna take our time, it's gonna take commitment, it's gonna take the courage of our convictions. It's gonna take some time, it's gonna take commitment, it's gonna take the courage of our convictions. It's gonna take some time, it's gonna take commitment, it's gonna take some courage from our convictions. It's gonna take some time, it's gonna take commitment, it's gonna take the courage of our convictions.
Thank you, Avi. That is one of my favorite songs, and I'm glad that he selected it. So let us invite Mark Bernstein to provide us with his reading as we start the main portion of our service today.
Thank you, Jim. Good morning, everyone. As usual, it is wonderful to be back with you. This morning's reading is a passage from the book Allegiant, part of the popular young adult series of science fiction books. The author is Veronica Roth. She writes, "There are so many ways to be brave in this world. Sometimes bravery involves laying down your life for something bigger than yourself or for someone else. Sometimes it involves giving up everything you have ever known or everyone you have ever loved for the sake of something greater. But sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it is nothing more than gritting your teeth through pain and the work of every day, the slow walk toward a better life. That is the sort of bravery I must have now." So ends the reading.
Thank you, Mark. For our offertory, this month, we continue to support those in Ukraine, speaking of bravery and courage. More than 4 million people have now fled the violence in Ukraine, the majority of whom are women and children. Save the Children is concerned for these children caught in the middle of armed conflict, forced from their homes in freezing temperatures and exposed to injury, hunger, and cold. Our donation to Save the Children's Ukraine Crisis Relief Fund can help provide immediate aid such as food, water, hygiene kits, psychosocial support, and cash assistance. Please be part of this effort by contributing as generously as possible to help this important humanitarian effort and protect these children in crisis. You can always go to our website to find out how to donate. And now we welcome back Mark Bernstein for his sermon.
Thank you, Jim. Let me share my screen. So just a full disclosure, this sermon is a reprise of a sermon that I gave about 2 years ago to my home congregation when we were in the throngs of the COVID-19 pandemic. And we're still not out of the woods yet. So the information is still relevant and it is also updated. So it is, I hope, as they say in many products that we buy, new and improved. The pandemic was well underway. Leaving his position of privilege, this respected medical practitioner went into the streets and hospitals to serve those who were suffering and dying from the deadly disease. The physician's name was Guy de Chauliac. It was the 14th century, and the plague, known as the Black Death, would devastate up to a third of the population of Europe. Educated in all the finest institutions in France and personal physician to Pope Clement VI, while many of his colleagues avoided contact with patients for fear of becoming infected, de Chauliac, in contrast, looked after his patients, both on the throne and in the streets. De Chauliac was what researcher Kim Strom-Gottfried would call a moral exemplar, one who shows courage, integrity, and service during times of upheaval, one who places their safety at risk in order to live by the values they hold dear. There are innumerable examples of moral exemplars throughout history, people who were willing to put themselves in harm's way in order to do what was right. Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, Galileo, Rosa Parks, Mahatma Gandhi, Harvey Milk, Harriet Tubman, Malala Yousafzai, and other lesser known individuals who demonstrated the courage to speak out and take action at great personal risk. People like Edith Cavell, a nurse in Belgium during World War I, who was arrested and executed for helping Allied servicemen escape back to England. Emmeline Pankhurst, a leading suffragette in the United Kingdom, who was jailed several times for her efforts to gain women the right to vote. Ida B. Wells, African-American activist. She investigated the practice of the lynching of Black people in the United States and wrote about it in newspapers. Her office in Memphis was burned down after exposing a lynching. Despite considerable opposition, she was able to turn public opinion against this practice. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, a German Lutheran pastor who consistently spoke out against Nazism and was eventually arrested and died in a concentration camp. And our own Michael Servetus, the original Unitarian martyr, who in the 14th century wrote a book entitled On the Errors of the Trinity, Challenging the Basic Beliefs of Christianity. He became a marked man during the Spanish Inquisition and went underground. He was eventually exposed, arrested, tried for heresy, and burned at the stake. All of these individuals, known and unknown, exhibited what today we call moral courage. The courage to take action for moral reasons, despite the risk of adverse consequences. Moral courage means doing the right thing in the face of your fears. Over the past 2 years, during this generation's pandemic, during this extraordinarily challenging and difficult time in our history, we saw and continue to see an abundance of moral exemplars. Healthcare workers on the front lines who experienced emotional and psychological challenges most of us can barely imagine. Paramedics heading out in ambulances to care for strangers. Staff working in nursing homes, assisted living facilities, and community homes for people with physical, psychiatric, and intellectual disabilities. Those providing psychological or spiritual counseling to patients, caregivers, and frontline staff. Cashiers in grocery stores and pharmacies, the ones who drove the buses and trolleys, who delivered the mail, who disinfected the offices and hotel rooms, who worked in meat factories, who volunteered at food banks, who went to work every day in any business that was deemed essential. And even our four-legged friends got into the act. This dog from Brooklyn walked himself so that his owners didn't have to venture out. Who's a good dog? Actually, this dog looks very much like my doggy, Lenny. Moral courage for these people was not something spontaneous. Of course, we admire and acknowledge the person who instinctively runs toward the fire or the accident to help rather than running the other way. But for the people I mentioned, the act was and is deliberate. These people were clear-eyed about the inherent risk of the situation that faced them. They admitted to their natural fears and yet took decisive action to assist or alleviate the situation despite those fears. Whether through a sense of duty, altruism, or simply the need to keep their jobs, they rose each day, screwed up their courage, and charged back into battle against a foe that they could not see and could not fully comprehend. And parenthetically, over the past several years, we have seen the courage of mostly young people who took to the streets day after day to peacefully protest racism and acts of police brutality, who stood their ground in the face of intimidation and threats of retaliation from law enforcement, who subjected themselves to tear gas and rubber balls, not to mention horses, shields, and batons. They did it because they felt called to speak out against evil, to do what was morally right, despite their hesitation and fears over what might happen as a result. Today, in this troubled and polarized world, we see examples of moral courage everywhere. In the heartbreaking war in Ukraine, we stand in awe of those Ukrainians who have gone to unimaginable lengths to protect themselves and their country, who either have joined the war as soldiers or who have stayed back, refused to leave in order to provide the fighters with food, medicine, and other commodities, or simply for moral support. In some cases, these courageous people have carried their children over the borders, placed them into safe hands, and returned to their homeland to help in the fight. Some have stood in front of tanks and military convoys in protest. And in Russia itself, morally courageous people have gone out into the streets to protest Putin's attack on their neighbor, and they have done so at considerable personal risk. We have all heard the story of the Russian journalist Marina Ovsyannikova, who stormed a news broadcast yelling, "Stop the war," and holding up a sign warning visitors that they were being lied to. Psychologist Sharam Hejmat, former professor at the University of Illinois, tells us that courage, quote, is selfless. And it has a lot of societal implications because you're not just looking out for your self-interest, you're sacrificing yourself for the community. And that's what we see in this crisis in Ukraine, he says, that a lot of people are doing things selflessly for their country. And closer to home, there are those in the political realm, maybe too few, but some, who bravely stand up to the brazen attacks on our freedoms and our democracy from those who would see us deny one's sexuality, shield our children from the horrors of slavery, undermine the electoral process, and spread lies and hate for political gains. Michigan State Representative Mallory McMorrow, you may have read or seen this, recently gave a moving speech on the Michigan Senate floor after a Republican cohort attacked her for her support of the LGBTQ community. This colleague accused Ms. McMorrow of supporting pedophilia, reiterating a common right-wing talking point. This state senator, Lana Theus, a Republican, made the troubling claims against her in a fundraising email sent to her constituents. Ms. McMorrow ended her poignant address with these words: "I want every child to feel seen, heard, and supported, not marginalized and targeted if they are not straight, white, and Christian. I know that hate will only win if people like me stand by and let it happen. Call me whatever you want. I know who I am. I know what faith and service mean and what it calls for in this moment. We will not let hate win." Don't you wish more Democrats would stand up and proclaim this? Moral courage, standing up for what you know is good and right, regardless of the consequences. But what about the rest of us? We who don't stand in front of tanks or speak before an assembled gallery of people, how do we demonstrate moral courage? We do it, I believe, by staying true to our values, by not giving in to the hate and extremist views of others, by continuing to act as role models in ways that are kind and respectful, and by sometimes confronting others despite our fears. Let me give you one personal example, now about 2 years old, of what moral courage can look like for the rest of us. This is in the middle of the pandemic when it was raging mightily. Right smack in the middle of downtown Springfield, where I live. Downtown, of course, is like 2 blocks long. There's a Wawa. For as long as I can remember, a group of men would station themselves in front of the store in the morning, drink their coffee, and swap stories every morning. The problem, though, for me surfaced when they continued to adhere to this daily ritual After the pandemic began and social restrictions clearly went into place. This again was when the pandemic was in full-blown contagion. Every morning still, there they were, still grouped together, well within 6 feet of each other, and their masks down around their necks. This is what they looked like to me. I seethed each time I entered and left the store until one day I decided I would screw up my courage and talk to them. Now, you have to understand that I'm not a confrontive kind of guy. In fact, I hate confrontation. And so when I approached them that morning, mask securely in place, I felt like Gary Cooper facing off against the bad guys in the movie High Noon. Trying to be as pleasant and non-judgmental as I could, I calmly shared with them my frustration with having to walk around the parking lot to get into the store in order to avoid passing right by them. My sense of injustice that their refusal to follow the state and local guidelines put me at risk and those that I come into contact with as well. They stayed mostly silent during my diatribe. And when I was done, one of them, I think he was the ringleader of the gang, said very quietly, "Let me ask you a question." Sure, I gulped, thinking that he wanted to debate the merits of staying safe versus exercising his right to live his life as he chose. But it wasn't that at all. Motioning to the cup of coffee in his hand, he said, "If I'm wearing a mask, how am I supposed to drink my coffee?" It took a great deal of courage not to laugh out loud at his comment. Understanding that he and probably some of his gang was completely missing the point, I thanked them for listening and ambled back to my horse, my car, and I drove away. I don't know if my words made a difference, but I do know that exercising moral courage, facing my fears to do what I felt was the right thing to do, felt awfully darn good. If moral courage involves the courage to seek and to speak the truth, the courage to be just in our actions, the courage to be honest, to demonstrate kindness, to stand up for what is right, then we, as good Unitarian Universalists, demonstrate moral courage every day. And finally, it takes courage to be patient. Reverend Richard S. Gilbert in this meditation reminds us that patience takes courage. He writes in part, "When we are overwhelmed with the world and cannot see our way clear, when life seems a struggle between tedium and apathy or frenzy and exhaustion, when today seems a punishment and tomorrow a torment, may we find the courage of patience. May we know such courage and quietly celebrate its presence among us. Have courage, my friends, and stay well. May it be so."
Thank you, Mark. And may we all have courage to be moral exemplars, at least maybe once in a while. So now is a time in our service when we recognize and lift up one another in love. Let us be fully present and listen to others with open hearts as we share our joys and sorrows. If you wish to share something now, click on Reactions and then click Raise Hand and we will help you to unmute. For everyone's benefit, please be brief. Robin?
There you go. Okay. Hi, I just wanted to say that Janet and I had the pleasure last week of having a party for some of our younger friends. Maddie and Lily were there, and Annalise and my granddaughter Karma. And it was really nice to get everybody together again. You know, at first they were a little bit shy. You know, they're all girls, and but you know, they warmed up very quickly. We did crafts, we had pizza, we danced, and just had a wonderful time. And I wanted to share that. And they all look forward to getting together again, you know, sometime in the summer and hopefully in the fall as well. So.
Thank you, Robin.
Mhm.
Hey, can I do one real quick while we're here and on the line? So neither Robin and I are feeling 100% today, but I did want to say I'm so happy that we were here because the sermon today is so important, and I'm very glad that we didn't miss it, because there was part of us that were like, hey, we should go to bed or just recover, but this has been wonderful. So as always, Mark, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. You always have a nice word for me, and you guys can go to sleep now or soon.
Mary Jane. Oh, hold on a second.
They put a hand up now, they're at the top. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
I have two things. One is our brother-in-law, Nurma Razzo. Some people might know him because he had a shop in Marshall. He was a big man. He was bigger than life. When he was in a room, you knew it because he had a big voice too. But he was a gentleman and will be very much missed. That was my sorrow. But my joy was that Catherine was here with you, us last week. Kathy, I call her Kathy, and I didn't recognize that she was Catherine too. She would pick me up to go to Bucks County Community College a few times. She did that. And she always said, Mary Jane, I'm going to become a Unitarian if I keep on being with you. And great, she was here last week. She couldn't be here today because of family duties, but I hope be able to get Mark's sermon. I hope she's going to get that. She wants to, and she wants to come next week. Wants to hear Neil again, and she's so enthusiastic. And her husband heard some of the sermon last week, and was interested too. So keep my fingers crossed. She might be in one of us sooner.
Thank you, Mary Jane. Anybody else? Mary Rogers. Okay, hold on, Mary.
Okay.
Okay, Mary. You can unmute.
Thanks. Well, last week, the owners of Oxford Crossing, is where I live, that's the new name, asked some of us from my building, there are 3 buildings here, but my building and the main building, which is the largest and most independent, they asked to come for a meeting because they want to enlarge it here and increase the facilities. So a few of us went over and joined them in their movie making for this establishment and for all the buildings here. So that was quite lovely. We had music and colors and ribbons and whatnot. So that was exciting that they're trying to get more people to come here and be healed or be in a more positive establishment. So we have exciting things going on here. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mary.
Rich. All right.
Okay, Richard. Hold on a second, Rich.
There.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I just want to point out Mark's service. It was my favorite service. Truly was. When you brought up the heroes, the woman went out with a placard. Oh, that was so big. And State Senator McMorrow's comments. Oh, I love that. And you said you wish some Democrats would stand up. I truly wish some Republicans would stand up to the nonsense. But on a personal note, I just want to reiterate that Janet also worked with Robin with the kids. She's working now, actually. And she truly loved being with the kids, including Robin. And it sounds like it's like a seed of something else that's coming. And finally, I wanted to mention Avi. I don't know if everybody knows it, but when you see him, he's not live right now. I can't wait till September. We're going to have him back live. But right now, last night and today, he's in Toronto with his family as they had a grand premiere of a documentary at a film festival on his father, who was a speaker here. And his father's son will be a speaker here in a week or two. So I just wanted to point that out. If the documentary is called How Saba is Singing. So if anybody wants to look that up. All right, thank you.
And Rich, I think you meant Avi's grandfather.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Well, no, Avi's grandfather did speak with us. Avi's father spoke to us, was a guest speaker, and will be.
Right.
Next week.
And Avi's grandfather was a survivor of concentration camps back in World War II.
Another hero.
Yes.
Mary,
you have something else? Hold on a second. Hold on, Mary. Hold on.
Thank you.
Yes, Mary.
Avi's grandfather lived in my building here
Yes.
at my senior center, and we became quite good friends. He talked to me and gave me a signed copy of his wonderful book. I'm sure that there are copies available if anybody would want one. But it was a pleasure having him here and just to talk to him. A little bit frightening to hear him talk about the days when he was younger, but everyone enjoyed him, and he was a good friend. So I'm delighted to have known him.
Thank you, Mary. Whether or not you share today, for your joys, we in this community join you in celebration. For any sorrows or concerns, may you feel our sympathy and compassion. And let us pause for just a moment of gratitude, silent meditation, and prayer. And now, let us listen to Avi's closing song and the selection from the hymnal.
Please join me in singing our closing hymn, number 34, Though I May Speak with Bravest Fire. Even as we stay muted on Zoom, I hope you will join me in singing all 3 verses of our closing hymn today.
You're muted, Jim.
Thank you, Mark. And now let us extinguish the chalice, and please say with me these words as the chalice is extinguished. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Our service is concluded, but please stay for a few minutes afterwards for conversation and discussion. You can unmute yourself and use the chat function now. And to see everybody's shining faces, please put your Zoom into gallery view.